Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to your live Investment Dominator Q&A call. Again, I'm Warren Davis, and we are here on this beautiful Thursday, the 20th of June, 2019, and glad that there are so many of you on the call this afternoon. I know it takes something to get to these 12 noon calls, and real quickly, we could do a quick sound check. My indicators are saying that I'm coming through, but I want to make sure you can hear me and see my send me your questions screen. So if you can, just type yes that I'm coming through loud and clear and that you can hear me. Excellent. Thank you, Eileen and Gidget. We appreciate that. This is good. So I hope you all are having a great week, and we're gonna have a little bit different format on the call today. Nothing really earth-shattering, but I'm going to start with a couple of informs before we get into the questions. Thank you, Muling. We're going to be looking at just to inform you on a couple of announcements that we have. Now you should be able to see the way you have all of your different facets coming into Investment Dominator and what goes out of Investment Dominator. This is really a powerful CRM or customer relationship management tool. So we want to make sure that you on this call get your questions answered. I'm going to have a um, place here. Okay, thank you. I see questions already coming in. Um, okay, and we'll get to some of those. That's good. We didn't get as many questions come in this past week from the actual our ticketing system, but I did have a chance to speak with a few folks on the phone, and so I really got some questions from there. So we're gonna look at that. But to start off here, we're going to give you which we call it's kind of a warning, but it's an inform at the same time regarding your websites. And we know that a lot of you are getting busy out there getting your websites together. So we want to make sure that we are giving you the input that you need. Okay, so I'm going to right now bring up my Investment Dominator screen, and you should see it there with the land deals that are displaying. And let me see, before I go on, is there anything else I've missed? This is kind of just a quick inform for you regarding your websites. And we have some new features under the website settings. And some of you may have already gone in to see this, but I just went into customize and I'm hitting website settings. And basically some of the new features that are there's three separate sections here. As you can see, a website header, website body, and website footer. Now, for me personally, this is not something I normally mess with, and the reason why is that these three sections are primarily for what we call CSS coders or your cascading style sheet coders. That's what CSS stands for. CSS coders are primarily individuals that can go in and they know how to make changes to website code or to websites, period. And if you ever need a CSS coder, they can be hired through Upwork or Spyver.com. If you ever need to hire one that you want to, because you want to make some, really cool changes to your website. But I just want to make sure that you understand the warning here is that any changes you make, either in the website header, the website body, or the website footer, this is going to affect not only your selling, but your buying site as well. So both of your sites, if you're using Investment Dominator for your sites, this will affect your sites. So that's why we put this warning. Please, you only use this section if you have experience with web scripts. We've had a couple of cases where, some changes have been made here and they weren't made correctly, and it actually did affect the displaying of the websites, the buying and the selling site. So we're just putting this out here that this kind of as a warning to let you know, give you an idea what a CSS coder will do, which is something I don't get into. As you can see, this is a a landing page for one of my sites here, and I'm just going to right click and inspect. And as you can see, it brings up this very cryptic code over here to the right. And a CSS coder, or a cascading style sheet coder, is able to decipher and knows how to add and take away fields or lines of code here to change your site and the way your sites display. So that's not something that I get into, so I can't even begin to advise anyone on this call how to make any changes to their websites at that level. Just want to make sure that you know this. A lot of times with the sites, there's third-party code or third-party packages that can be packaged code, I should say, that can be put in either in the website header or the website body, and that code is maybe safe to put in, but it requires somebody with the knowledge there to put that code in. That's why we have the warnings. So just wanted to make sure that gets put out there for everybody, because we've had a couple of cases where it didn't turn out so well. Okay, so that's the first warning. And then the other second is just kind of an inform for you um, with what's new within Investment Dominator and as it relates to Twitter. And I just want to show you, there's been a new, Alex has been busy. So he's been putting up out on Twitter. And I don't know if those of you, some of you may know this, but there's a new Twitter page that Alex is maintaining. Our technical group are maintaining, and the address is, as you can see, I just typed in twitter.com investment dom. So that's specifically for the Investment Dominator. And we just want to let you know that this is primarily to make announcements, any new features that are going to be within the Investment Dominator, you would be able to see them on this site or this particular Twitter page that Alex is maintaining. So at the same time, some of these recorded calls will also be put on this Twitter page. And we just want you to be aware of that you can come out here and you can actually see some of the latest updates to the Investment Dominator. And at the same time, I also will be bringing you any of the latest updates as they roll off. Alex usually makes me aware of them, and so I can share them with you on the call. But should you want to, get a jump on that and come out here and look at some, this is a new Twitter page, and we just want to make sure that folks are aware of this. Now, one other important piece of information: this is not a place for support requests. So if you do type in anything or you post anything, make sure that you understand this is not a place where Alex is going to be looking to see if if anything's coming in that's broken or if anything's not functioning. So to do a support request, we will still ask that you go over to the correct place where you type in help, your help function, and you create a new support ticket. That's still what we're asking to be done. So I didn't want you to think that just because Twitter's up there and it has some places for you to input information that you could actually send your support request there. That's not going to happen. So before we get into the questions that we did receive, I wanted to just take a moment and see if there's any specific questions regarding importing. And I see we have one question that did come in. I just want to see real quick. Okay, organize links, pros, realtor.com. Okay, that's from Eileen regarding links and copies of comparables, like from Zillow. Oh, copies of comparables. Best way to organize links and copies of comparables like Zillow and realtor.com, etc. Well, I can't say that we have a way. This is from Eileen. Good question, Eileen. I can't say that we really have a way of organizing, the links and copies of comparables from Zillow. I I would think that if you're looking at Zillow or you're looking at uh, Realtor.com, you're probably doing your analysis, is what I'm thinking, and you're looking because that's where we would do our initial, pending preliminary research on. So we want to now determine what we're going to send out to a customer that has said, hey, I want an offer request. Let me jot this down. Let's see. Best way to organize. And what I can think of off the top of my head, Eileen, at this point, you see, to organize links and copies. Um, and I'm not even sure this would be the most efficient way, but if I went into my record here and I edited this record, because I'm assuming it would be for a specific land record that you're getting this information that you want to keep. And for each record, obviously, there is a place down here where you can add notes. You could add any of your notes information, and this might be, and you can make them private or you can make them public. And that might be a good place to organize for each different record. And we have a place also here where you can add links, although this is a different function than if you just want to keep track of them. So I would think that this is probably one of the best places I would start. Is I would come in here and add my note. I would make the note private, so you make sure if you make it public, it's going to display on your site, and you don't want that note on any of your sites. So make sure it's always private, and then admin only, and you can just start typing, any information that you need here. And and the beautiful thing about this now, this functionality is, you can add a note here. If I added one to my admin only, and I added one note, so you can see it puts it right there. And this could be, and I could add another note. I could do my Zillow comparable, and I could add that note. Okay. And these would be notes, obviously, associated with this particular record. And, they're put in here just in the order that you put them in. So that would be, if you're looking to do some other kind of function, let me know, and I could do some research for you and come up with a real, slick way to help you out there, Eileen. But that's what I can think of so far, is using the notes feature that's on your system. Okay, we have good. We got some other questions coming in here. Here's correct design spot check. Okay, so we're going to get into these other questions here that have come in. We've had quite a few questions coming in around the importing of lists, and I know that a lot of you are sending out your letters and to your neutral letters so that they go to customers to say, hey, I'm interested in buying your property. And in a couple of occasions, there have been a lot of records sent out at one time. Some folks have sent out 1,000 records. Some have sent out have imported a couple of thousand records at one time, I should say. So they're importing these records into Investment Dominator, which is, that's great that you're doing that. The issue comes up as you import these records, some don't want to, they made a mistake importing so many, and they just want to go back now and pull that last import out of the system. And so I've gone through this a couple of times over the last few days with different ones, and I just want you to know it's perfectly understandable that you get into something where you've imported some records and you realize, oh man, I didn't want to import all those records. So again, when you come in here to import, you would choose your file. I'm just going to go through a real quick demonstration, basically, of how you would delete records just from your last import. And we've gone through this a couple of times. There is an article. There's a teaching on this in one of the recordings for our webinars, and I'd have to give you the date. But anyway, you choose your file, and you want to come here. Let me see, get to place where I can have the file come up. And I'll show you real quick. It's really a cool way they put in that you can just basically back out your previous import. And I'm going to start here with a file. If it would, okay. So I chose a file that I'm going to import. So all I'm going to do now is just say I'm going to upload that list. And as you can see, owners added, existing owners 8. So properties added there's a total of 10 new records that came in. And I purposely put them as the Davis County so I could tell which ones came in. So all of these new records were just imported, as you can see, Davis County. Okay? I think there's a total of 10. So what I would do at this point now, if I say, oh wow, I didn't want to really do that. I messed up there. So what I'm going to do under the My Team, I'm going to come over, and some of you may remember me demonstrating this, but it bears repeating. Under My Team, come over to Activity Log. And once you push Activity Log, right, the last import is what's going to list here. So what it's important to do now is find, okay, this was the last import. And I always get this question whenever I demonstrate this. Well, if I want to delete the last import, why can't I just go over here and delete, hit this delete? So I'm just going to say, why not press the delete associated with that particular transaction? And the reason being is because this delete here is just going to delete this entry out of your activity log. It doesn't delete the actual records. So what we have to do is we have to go in and we have to determine, okay, what were the records that actually got imported? And you can see Investment Dominator says 205 through 214. And it's very important to write these down because if you're like me, you have a hard time remembering certain things, and these record numbers, you want to make sure you write that down, numbers 205 through 214. Remember, Investment Dominator always lists, it puts a unique ID or unique reference number here on every single record that's brought into, especially as a prospect, and it counts them. So you want to make sure that you know which records specifically you want to delete. And so then all you do is come back to your land deals, and you want to do a search of a property ID range. That's all you're going to do. And you definitely want to put 205 to 214. Okay. And again, this is, that's why I want to have this. This is being recorded, so you can definitely go back and look at it any time. So we're going to do a search for just those records. And remember, it was 205 through 214. And that's exactly what we have here in our buffer, 205 through 214. Now, I just did this for 10 records, but I could have done this for 2,000 records because, that range that I pulled from my team will give me the entire range of records that was entered. Now, remember, anything that we want to delete in this section here, okay, we're going to delete using this level of commands. None of your upper commands, those are based on status, and that was what we call bulk commands. But we're going to do these lower level commands so I want to delete these records. But first, so I've got them into my search. Now what I have to do is select all these records. So I'll come up here and just hit select all at one time. And as you can see, it checks them all, right? So now at this point, I can just say delete at this level. And it confirms I have 10 records selected and you're about to permanently delete, and this action cannot be undone. And I'll say fine, confirm that delete. Okay, those records are now deleted from the system. And don't forget to, at this point now, you do want to clear your search. And once you clear your search, you're good to go. I just want to make sure we go over that because individuals are doing a lot of importing right now, and we want to make sure that you know how to get rid of a previous import. That's the quickest way I know to do it, rather than having to go through page after page after page and find the records that you want to delete physically. And especially if some of you are importing 1,000 records or 2,000 records at a time. So it's important to keep that in mind, okay? So, okay, let's see. Lane's asking, where did we get that in the activity log? Where did we get the activity log? Okay, no problem. Let me see, that was, okay, what I did was I came up under my team, and this is just any individuals that you might have set up in this particular Investment Dominator account that can have access to it. And all I did was, so under my team and then activity log over here to the right. And when I got into my activity log, the last, at the time before I deleted them, it was this transaction here, the second transaction. The good thing about the activity log, it keeps track of everything that anyone's done. So here is where I just hovered over the question mark, and it was numbers 205 through 214. So that's how you find your range. Got it? So that we can, once we find that range, then we can go back in and we can delete. So now this delete function, or just delete action, is put up here. And not exactly sure why it's sure specifying that, because this is what we deleted out of the system. But Investment Dominators keeps track of all of those different numbers that's in the system. So we had one person that was a little concerned, and I can understand that, because every time an import would get done, Investment Dominator assigns these unique IDs over here to the left. And so his concern was that the unique identifiers over here would not match the numbers that went out on his neutral letters, because he put the numbers on his neutral letters himself. And that's perfectly fine to do that. But in that case, if you've got neutral letters that have gone out, that you physically mail them out, and then you came and imported those records into Investment Dominator, it's going to give you another reference number or different ID number than what's on your neutral letter. So all you really have to do in that case is you will have to search by owner, probably last name, first name, and maybe county. And that's easy to do. So you can find those specific individuals, but that would be about the best way to do. If they call up and they want they want an offer, you'll have to come in and find them if you're handling that yourself. If you have someone like Pat Live that's doing it, Pat Live is pretty good about coming in. If the reference number doesn't match, they will at least be able to search by that person's last name and still find that person. Okay, so hopefully that will help clear up. Upload. Okay, I'm gonna get Ron's question here. See if I can get Ron's question. Said just need verification. I thought when we upload our CSV, it was required that only the 11 fields were in place. But last week I updated the CSV with a bunch of other fields on the spreadsheet, and it added all the info. It appears correct as I spot checked some of the records. So apparently the VA knew what he was doing. Okay, that's a good question, Ron. Just want some verification. Let me make sure I get that down. So you uploaded a CSV, or that's just an Excel file, and you have 11 fields. 11 fields are required, and that's a good question. But you notice that in what you uploaded, fields were in place. But last week, you uploaded a CSV with a bunch of other fields on the spreadsheet, and it added all the info. Okay, that's a good question. I'm gonna see if I can almost imagine what you are talking about here. And it's very good to get that cleared up, because let's see, imported. I'll find one here that we'll see and if I can't, I will don't worry about trying to spend too much time locating one, because so this would be an example of a regular import, regular file that I might import. Now, I'm wondering if what you're speaking about, Ron, is actually a .csv that came out of Investment Dominator. So let's see, if I were to export, and what this export just did, I exported it and it gave me a .csv, and that .csv has a lot of fields on it. And if this is what you're speaking about, this is the file that we would send. Remember, if you're sending it to letterprinting.net, and they're going to take this unique identifier that Investment Dominator puts on, but there's all these other fields. And what I wanted to make sure you understood is that as long as the fields, let's see, let me do it this way. I'll explain it this way. Search user guide, and let's say how to import, because that will give us a format here. Okay. Okay. So you remember, I'm sure you all have seen this. Okay. So remember that there are all of these other fields, but the ones that are colored here, these are the required fields, and definitely the ones where they're yes. And of course, if your type is individual, you should have a first name and a last name. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these are the 11 fields that you're talking about that, yes, Ron, they are required no matter what. But all these other fields here are optional. They can, sometimes they might be on the import as well, right? But as long as they are in this format, and I'm talking first name, last name is what is in the data, right? And it's capitalized, capital FIRST space capital NAME. As long as they're in this format, they will come into Investment Dominator just fine. They will process just fine. Even if there's no data in them, Investment Dominator won't kick them out. But Investment Dominator does expect to find all of these required fields that are colored. They expects to find, some data associated with each of these fields. As long as the columns are, company and address spelled just like that with capital A and capital CITY for city, you'll process just fine. So that's probably why they came in. There was no problem with them. And let's see, you said the other fields that were fed into the Investment Dominator CRM included assessed value. Yes, yes, that's true. You can feed into Investment Dominator, the assessed value. Some counties that we get data from, they include those kinds of values, and it's great. I mean, I love it because it kind of gives me an idea of how the county has already assessed that properly, and that's actually good for us. So um, let's see. So that's a good question, Carol. It looks like Carolina. That looks like okay, Carolina, asking the question: if a company, okay, if company is required, but remember, let me bring back up my import there. Oh, there we go. Okay, she said if company is required field, but the owner is holding the property in their own name, what should go in that field? No, so Caroline, I totally I got what you're saying. Now, the reason this is here is if the name or the parcel or your property is in the company's name, then what's required, you don't need you need a company name, and you still would need this other information here. But remember, on the beginning of your record, you have either individual or company. If you have individual, you definitely are required to have a first and last name. Matter of fact, nothing like just bringing up a picture so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Let me show you the file, as a matter of fact, that I just imported. Okay, so here, the way this works, Carolina, is if you're dealing with a company, Investment Dominator doesn't need to have a first name and a last name. It needs to have a company name, right? So if you're dealing with an individual, Investment Dominator expects to have first and last name. So to answer your question, if the person is holding this property in their name, if that's the way it's registered in the county, they might have a company associated with it, but the county is going to give you, it's going to show the first and the last name. So that actually ends up being an individual record, okay? Companies only required if there's a company name associated with that. I think you got it now. Okay, good, good. Hope everybody else gets that. Um, and again, just to clarify, if it's an individual, there should be a first and last name. Even if there is a company associated with that parcel, if the parcel's not in the company's name but is in the individual's name, that actually qualifies it as an individual record, even though there's a company associated with it. And very good questions, because this is exactly what kind of trips people up a little bit when they bring in their imports. So, okay, we got that. Excellent questions, people, because when we first started in this business, a few years back, we we didn't have a platform like this to get on and just shoot questions out. So this is exactly what's needed. Let me move on here and make sure that okay, I'm gonna capture another kind of a basic question that we've had recently, and that came in through the ticket system. I think a lady named Jennifer. And it's basically, how do we merge records, or how do we use the merge records function? And I'll get back to your other questions here as soon as I can. And don't worry about the questions that you're bringing in. If just want to make sure you guys know this is being recorded. So if I don't get to your question today, I will have an answer for you. Let's say our next class will be Monday, and we'll have a definite answer for you by then. So, and what I'll do, if I don't cover it today, I will start with those questions on Monday for those of you that may be new joining our call. So we had a question come in regarding how to use the merge feature, and that's this feature right here. So I set up a little demo in our system so that we can make sure we cover that. How do you merge records? And let's see if I can find my records here. Okay, so occasionally, now Investment Dominator is very good about, as records come in, if it finds a duplicate record. We see Earl Lindsay here and Earl Lindsay again. Now you see Earl ended up in here twice. Now it shows the same size property. I mean, that's not unusual. That could happen. It's kind of unlikely, but it could happen. But here we have the APN number looks pretty much the same, except there's a little difference. So occasionally, what will happen is a record will sneak in, will actually end up getting into the Investment Dominator, where it's the same person and it's actually the same property, but we have to be able to call and verify. So normally what would happen is we have someone in our office that would call and make sure that Earl Lindsay only has one property, and we're not talking about dealing with two properties. Want to make sure I clarify. The merge feature is not for individuals that have multiple lots. It's only to merge records where you're absolutely sure these two records, that the person only has one property and that this is a duplicate record in the system. So I don't want you to automatically, if you see two individuals' names, if they have two different APNs, those could be two separate parcels. So don't just automatically merge them. But let's say we find out Earl Lindsay only has one, and all we want to do is we want to merge these two records. So obviously what we have to come over to do is we have to come over and select them, and we want to use this merge feature here, and it will bring up the merge records. And it's very important because also there are times when you might go put in a record yourself, physically put in a record, and find that there's already another prospect record in with that name, and this box will pop up, and so it'll say, okay, well, which one do you want to use here? Now, if I select this one here, this first one, record A, 51, it's going to move all of these fields over here into the middle column. Very important that you check all the fields that are in this column A, or the 51, before moving them over, because Investment Dominator is going to do it all at one time. And so if record A 51 is correct, then I'm going to hit that one. If record B, if I come in here and check, find record B is the correct one, it's going to move all of these records into this middle column. And what's important for you to understand is that once it's in this middle column, when we say merge and continue, whatever's in this column is going to be considered the Bible, okay, on that particular feature. So I'm going to say record A is the correct one. And now it's important for you to go down and check all your data, because what could be the case is, instead of 1 year, it could be 2 years. It could be another field that you want to, put in to this record, so that when it's merged, it's going to come out as just one record. Okay, so now that we have our records, if I just say merge and continue, okay, the records have been merged successfully, and we go back in, and I know there's another Earl Lindsay, but that's not the one we merged. Okay, so this is the prospect record that we merged, and it has all of our data there. You notice record 51 is gone. So that's how you use that feature, but it's don't use it. I want to share with you, be careful how you use that power, because you could be merging, records and actually losing prospect records. So if I hope that's clear for Jennifer, how to use the merge record feature. And another good question here. I tell you, time just moves on. The guys, it says on the guide, it says that owner first name and owner last name get populated in the offer. Should first name and last name be duplicated in those fields for individuals? Not sure I'm getting that question. Let me make sure. Let's see. On the guide, it says that owner first name and last name get populated. Oh, in the offer, that's correct. First name and last name be duplicated into those fields for individuals. Not sure I understand your question, Carolina, but we go back here to this on import. Okay, so it says that owner first name and last name get populated in the offer. These fields that are here, yeah, I see the notes on the right. Typically the first name, owner, or care contact, or there are multiple owners, just select one. Note, this value may be inserted into the caller's first name field in the system. Typically, this is the last name of the owner, care. Okay, this value will be inserted into the caller's first name. Okay, or it should say last name in the system. All right. You're talking about, okay, you're talking about these fields here. Okay, gotcha. So let me read your question again. On the guide, it says the owner first name and last name get populated in the offer. Should first name and last name be duplicated into those fields for individuals? No, not at all. These are additional fields. let's see, first name of the owner on the offer agreement. No, you don't need to duplicate the names again, because on the offer agreement, if I were to go back, I got your question now. Need to duplicate. Okay, first and last. No, not absolutely not. Because if I came in here and I'm doing a pending preliminary research record, which is an offer that's going out to someone to say, hey, I want to purchase your property, and this is the amount of money that I want to purchase. When I get ready, when I generate that, that's a very good question. And remember, I've selected a record in this land deal section here. So I want to use these commands here. Okay. So I'm going to generate documents, and I want to look at my offer PDF, and okay, the seller would be, whatever the person's name, first, that's the first and last name right there, and the buyer would be, your company here. So, and this is an offer amount. This is an offer letter that's actually going out. So I got your question, but no, you don't need to duplicate that information for the purposes of your offer letter. And we can look more into why exactly their owners, you have the owner's first name and the second owner. Okay, so you have a first or a second owner of the property, but this field here that you're putting in is going to be, hopefully you've populated, or will be populated, I should say, will be populated from what's being listed at the county, what's being shown at the county. And those are the fields that are going to be pulled. And you notice as this says, no, these are not required. Sometimes there could be multiple owners showing on a property, and the county will have knowledge of that. So when you creating your data that's actually going to come out of or going to be imported into Investment Dominator, you can specify that you want the second owner's first name and the second owner's last name to also be a part of your data. And if these fields are populated in these respective field names, they will also be printed on your documents, and that's already built into the investment dominator documents that you're going to produce out of here. So if you're producing an offer letter, these fields would go in the appropriate places, but they're not required. So hopefully that, I tell you, I was wondering if I was going to have enough questions for the hour, but this is more than enough questions for the hour. Okay, wanted to explain. Okay, great. I'm glad, Carolina, I'm glad that was helpful for you. That's good. Again, any questions that I don't get to today, I will definitely have them ready for you by Monday. So we had another question here. I may have time to finish this one up here. A question about, okay, records that are complete, ready to sell. So somebody, you remember this, we have these different status over here, and someone is ready to sell their property. And when it goes into that stage, it will be in the complete ready to sell status. So the question came in is, properties that I'm ready to sell, how basically do I use, there's a couple of fields, there's a couple of new fields that were added. And I just want to demo this real quick here for you. Down here under the listing section, property listing. So what I did basically was I'm just editing this record, okay? I don't know if I did that too quick, but if we go back and I'm in my complete ready to sell mode here, and all I did was come over here and hit edit to go into that record. And now it's displaying all the contents. And this is a record that someone is about to sell this or they're about to sell this property, and they're putting an ad together. Okay? So the question has to do with this list short description and the list long description. These are new fields that got added for 2019. You can enter in basic HTML in this section. For example, you could, add a PayPal code, or you could YouTube video player. It gives you a lot of flexibility. Before, we only had one field here, and that was basically the short description. So if I wanted to type in something, real here that say, okay, purchasing this property. Again, this is for your ad. It will change your life. This is a powerful property here. It's going to change your life. So purchasing this property will change your life. So if I want to see this display, as a matter of fact, this is my listing headline, and I want to change that up just a little bit. Because when you're doing a listing, what's important to have, oh, there it is a sale price. Okay, so anytime you put something in complete ready to sell, you definitely want to come in here and make sure the sale price is populated. For some reason, that's something that people forget. So 27,500, that's the blowout sale here. 1,500. Okay. So I'm putting this in property will change your life. So I want to make sure this displays on my listing. The next is this long description here. And so the question came in is, well, what's the difference between these two, the short and the long description? Short and long description. In our property listing section, remember, we're in our property listing section. It's down towards the bottom of your screen. But this new HTML box that's been added here, this allows you to, you can make letters bold. You can, and I'm just going to type something in here. Let's see, check out the following cool features. Okay, and if I wanted that bold, I could highlight it here, and I could make this bold. And there, let's just say that I wanted to, now I want to do some, bullet points to let you know about these cool features. It has access to the lake, scenic walking trail, and I can even, if I want, let me see how I would do this. If I wanted to put in a little smiley face, I could come up here and pick a smiley face that I want to put in. So you see, I just added a little smiley face. The whole point is you have this little bar here that allows you to do a lot of features. I can add a table. I can put in some embedded code from other sites. I can add images in here if I want to, a picture or something. So it really allows you to kind of give you a little bit of power to customize your own site. That's what we want to make sure we get you to understand. So now, one of the most important things that people forget also is at the end, after you've done all these changes, make sure you always, always, always update your record. There's a place down here for you to update the record here, and I'll just go on and do that. Of course, it brings you back to the top. There's also another place for you to update the record up here, up top, and you're still in that particular record. So you have to scroll back down here to the bottom. And here you see I've put in my purchase this property, change your life, and this other following text. I just want to give you an idea of the power. You can also you can number, items that you want. Um, and I'll show you how this looks here in a minute. So, and then to finish that, that's it. So we come down here now and we update our record. And now when I go to generate my listing for this particular record, I'm coming up here to the options and I'll say generate listing. This should just, and as you can see, I have my summer blowout, 27,000. Check out the following cool features. That's what I just added. And access to lake, scenic walking trail, and it just gives you an idea of how you can put a few more custom touches onto your selling site and bring people in. So this is the difference. I want to make sure we understand. I don't want to get lost in all this information I'm giving you here. What I wanted to make sure pointed out here that for 2019, Alex and company, we used to just have one box for your description, but now there's this long description, and we even tell in here you can enter basic HTML code. Now I'm not an HTML coder, but I can just type in, and it converts it actually to the HTML code that Investment Dominator understands for the site. Now, one warning on the edit source. Okay, you can change the actual source, but it says you're about to access source code of your property listing. The changes you make here could affect your listing as well as your entire selling site if not done properly. So if you do not have experience with HTML, please cancel out of this immediately. Now it gives you an option here. You can say, yeah, hey, I know what I'm doing. I understand. I want to proceed. Or you can just cancel out. But the whole point that I'm making here is that when you edit your source, remember, we're getting into, let's see, when you edit your source, you're getting into this kind of coding over here. Remember I told you need a CSS coder for that type of coding, and you're getting into some very technical areas. So it would be my advice that you go ahead and put you some nice images or whatever you want to put in here, but stay away from the actual editing of the source. Now, of course, if you're sitting out there and you're saying, hey, Warren, I got this, hands off, go for it. That's usually for people that are experienced in HTML code. And I know a little bit of HTML, but I wouldn't call myself an experienced person. So just a word to the wise. And folks, thank you for all of your participation. You guys had some great questions. This is exactly what we needed. And I'm hoping that we will help you to move along a little bit in your knowledge of what's going on with the Investment Dominator. At this point, we're going to wrap it up. And just want to leave this thought with you for the day. It is only through labor and painful effort, by grim energy and resolute courage, that we move on to better things. That was a quote from President Theodore Roosevelt. It is only through labor and painful effort, and by grim energy and resolute courage, that we move on to better things. You guys keep being courageous out there and bringing your questions in and making progress in your land business, because this is a fantastic business. I think it's a good tool we have here with the CRM, with this Investment Dominator. And if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be sitting here sharing it with you. So anyway, thank you for your participation. Have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you, or at least being online with you on Monday next week, okay? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.